So, never thought we'd be bringing this up again, huh? To think after this game has run its course, it's done its thing. Well, looks like that wasn't the end of it. Victims, viewers, and subscribers, I am PSYLOD, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the new upcoming DLC and Gold Edition for Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. So a little more than just a few days ago, Capcom releases a video once again for Resident Evil 7, only this time it's not some sort of audio dialogue where they basically, not audio dialogue, but some sort of interview, quote-unquote interview, where they basically explain some stuff about their game with mechanics, sounds, and blah 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 blah, all that jazz that no one was really too enthusiastic about. Not sure what they were trying to think of there. Maybe they were thinking more behind the scenes equals more engagement to the game. I don't know what they were thinking. Not saying that that was unnecessary and unneeded, but sometimes, it was like, waiting for a DLC that we were promised that would come out in the spring of this year, but it never, unfortunately, came about. Now news has finally spread that Not a Hero for Resident Evil 7 is going to be released with a gold edition of Resident Evil 7. It's going to be for free with other users of Resident Evil 7 as well. That's still staying. But with this Resident Evil 7 gold edition, it looks like Capcom is pushing that edition for the holidays. So the gold edition comes out on December 12th of this year. So when I saw the release date, I just thought of a few things. It's like, I'm not sure if they're finished with producing their DLCs, making their DLCs, since they got Not a Hero basically somewhere inside here. But at the same time, another little surprise was sort of plucked into the Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition trailer. So besides the Not a Hero DLC, apparently we're getting another DLC for Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. That DLC being called End of Zoe. I will give Capcom credit for this, but if they're pushing their gold edition for the holidays, I think what they're trying to do is basically line themselves up to get their Resident Evil 7 Biohazard title out in the face of the gaming market again. I know some friends who weren't exactly too keen on Resident Evil 7, even going as far to taking this shit back to the video game store they bought it from. But again, with the holidays coming up, and with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard's Gold Edition releasing around the holidays, that'll give Capcom a little bit more of a buck to make off of the game that they released back in January. So, well, that's not exactly surprising, considering they've done it before. Many companies have done that before, where they release gold editions or hardened editions or extra editions of their games just to make another bit of profit, and in the more optimistic sense, if no one bought their game in the first place, or if people who didn't get their game in the first place, the companies make a little bit more money, not only making more profit off of the momentum of what's fresh and new, and making consumers basically come in and pick up that hot, fresh, and new item, but also they get there's the full experience of the game. It just keeps repeating over and over and over again. So besides all that release date stuff, I just wanted to sit down and try to brainstorm a little bit as to what Resident Evil 7's Not a Hero and End of Zoe DLC will be like. There have been a couple screenshots online showing the Not a Hero DLC depicting the supposed Chris Redfield and the salt mines at the far end of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. So for the Zoe DLC, I've been curious ever since yesterday, what's the story supposed to be following in terms of Resident Evil 7's endings. So in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, you had the option of taking two paths. One was to save Ethan's wife, Mia Winters, and the other was to save Zoe. So it's unclear right now as to which canon the Resident Evil 7 Biohazard DLC story is going to take, be it if Mia is saved or Zoe is saved. That's sort of up in the air for speculation right now. So as for the Not a Hero DLC, it may take place like during like a little bit of the events of Resident Evil 7, or may take place after the events of Resident Evil 7. I'm not sure myself right now, but just trying to guess on what the story is and whatnot. My hope for the DLC anyway, I mean, I don't want to be too hyped, because sometimes, like, to be honest, Resident Evil 7 as a game, it's not terrible. It's not like the worst piece of shit ever, but for a lack of better term, for a Resident Evil game, it was just kind of lackluster. You kind of had lackluster characters like Ethan, and like basically going in with the lackluster story that was go in, save the wife, escape death, and then live happily ever or never after. I don't know. That all depends on if you say Mia or Zoe, you know. So here's something else to also consider as well when it comes to these DLCs. How good will they actually play out? There have been a couple screenshots depicting the Not a Hero DLC as explained earlier in the video. And there's this one screenshot that sort of intrigued me a little bit. There's this one screenshot where you have Chris Redfield, like punching one of the molded monsters that you encounter in Resident Evil 7. We may not have been able to officially play as Chris Redfield yet, but we have played in the past the Zoe Baker DLC, which was the... So I guess with these two packs, we have like two sides of two different coins. We have, you know, Redfield, the soldier we're supposed to be playing as, supposedly, who's supposed to be the main, I guess, star protagonist of Resident Evil 7's Not a Hero DLC. So possibly compared to the gameplay we had Ethan Winters as, we might get a little bit more open, expansive gameplay, possibly, you know, with melee, with a bit of melee and strength being involved, physical, getting physical, if you know what I mean. You know, a little bit more shooting. It's all about gunpowder, and also curious as well as to what the whole gas mask functionality will be all about. And as for Zoe, I mean, in the Daughters DLC, like, we basically just saw Zoe basically, like, there's not really much to do with Zoe. All you really do with her is just walk around, just do a little bit of stealth and hold a lighter. That's pretty much all she does. So, is it possible that Zoe is gonna start fighting in the end of Zoe DLC, or will they just continue to just lay out the same formula and basically tell the player, hey, you have to use stealth and use a lighter in specific areas to light your way through the swamp that you're going to be walking through. So this has pretty much come to the end of the video. I know Resident Evil 7 wasn't the greatest game in the whole damn world. I don't hate it, but at the same time, I just don't love it, you know? Like I said before, the main game itself isn't exactly one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had in terms of playing video games. But at the same time, I want to give a little bit of faith and a little bit of, you know, of a chance to see what the DLC does. Hopefully in the DLCs we'll get a little bit more explained in terms of Resident Evil 7's story and the mysteries that ensued at the end of the Resident Evil 7 campaign. And also, hopefully, like, besides storyline, I'm hoping also replayability as well. That's something that this game needs for people to keep saying, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to place this in my PlayStation 4. I want to place this in my Xbox One. Or I want to press Resident Evil 7 on my Steam app. So if we can have some good replayability and fun, quote unquote, that all depends on, you know, it's pretty subjective what fun is to some people. One man's pleasure is another man's poison. Or woman, you know, blah blah blah. You know, all that jazz, you know. You get what I mean, right? Assuming that these DLCs bode well with the fans, hopefully there'll be a little bit more of a better execution of a Resident Evil game for Resident Evil 8. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but there have been rumors like floating around the internet that Shinji Mikami, the original godfather of Resident Evil, and some people even call him the godfather of survival horror, like, so if he does come back supporting the Resident Evil 8 that supposedly is in development right now, then you never know. It could be like a better executed product, and hopefully, I don't know if this is even possible, but assuming anyone at Capcom at all even cares about their Resident Evil franchise and care about the fans, then they could possibly carry on without Shinji. But at the same time, you know, it's good to think that the original creator of Resident Evil is basically guiding, you know, trying to guide his own franchise into something memorable and playable for the gamers, for the players. I mean that's the only reason why, you know, I go back to other things like Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil, you know, like I haven't gone back to some of these games for a little while, but some games I'm able to access, like the Resident Evil 1 remake, for example. That's really up there in terms of one of my most favorite Resident Evil games of all time. But going back to those games, it's just like for me, it's just the replayability and the addictiveness that came from those games. Hopefully, like, and again, I risk my case, but hopefully, like, we'll get something like that in the Resident Evil 7 DLC to come. A good, memorable, replayable experience that everyone can enjoy for years. So that's gonna do it for me. I hope I did lay out some good points here and there in this video. Hopefully, I offered a little bit of, you know, food for thought, as they say. And if you have if you want to talk with me about this whole Resident Evil 7 DLC or Resident Evil in general, then come chat with me down in the comments if you want. And if you want to support me, you can leave a like if you want. That's okay with me. And if you want, you know, subscribe for more content. I want to do more content like this where I sit down and talk about some of the things I like. There are some things I still have to do, but unfortunately, I never was able to really, you know, sit down and really finish it. Things like how did I get into this series? I still have episode 1, which is the Call of Duty Zombies edition. I still have that to really like edit and, you know, record. That kind of video will be coming out soon. It won't be necessarily me talking like in front of a camera and with the, you know, the microphone right here. That's how I'm getting the audio. That's how the audio is like this. It's with this little thing. But it'll be, you know, like it'll be commentary, it'll be gameplay, and it'll basically just me talking a little bit about personal facts about me with in relation to the game. So I'm just gonna end the video. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you in any other future video I release. So take care everyone.